Hello and welcome back to Europa. Since the last episode, I went and did some mining since we are running low on steel and electrum. And it looks like I got back to base just in time to take shelter from a storm. So we're gonna wait that out and then put the new enclosed furnace to use to smelt the ore that I brought back. Alright, the storm has faded, so it's time to get these ores smelted. The furnace held at 999 degrees Celsius since last time, although there isn't too much pressure in there. So let's start by making some electrum, since that requires a fairly low pressure. And there's the electrum. First metal made in the new furnace setup. Yeah, that's gonna cool things quite a bit, so we will need to put new fuel in. But let's use the temperature that is in the furnace right now to off-gas some of the ores. I'm also going to take advantage of the low temperature in the furnace to make a little bit more solder. For that, I'm going to grab some of the lead that's stored inside. Looks like I have 31 grams of lead as bars. So I'm going to use 31 grams of iron as well. Now, the exact temperature needed for solder is less than 277. We're still just a little bit hot. But the nice thing with having this vent is I can push in a little bit of cold air. Oh. I guess I should turn off the ejection lever before I try to make alloys. There it is. Made some solder as well. Now I'm gonna vent the furnace and fill it up with new fuel. Okay, that's close enough to empty. So let's add some fuel. I'm gonna do 2 bars of 200 steel each. The furnace is a bit hotter than I calculated for the enclosure. but I did leave myself some headroom, so hopefully going up to 1800 or whatever the equalization temperature is going to be does not pass the 240 that the enclosure can handle. And it looks like it won't. With the new steel and electrum, now I can make some more of the super heavy cables and some more steel frames so that we can have a proper power setup outside. Alright, plenty of frames, plenty of cables, steel sheets, turbines. Let's go outside and start setting these improved power generation up. What I'm envisioning is that eventually I'm gonna have kind of an industrial hall here where I will move the printers and just put filtration and anything else that's needed. So I'm gonna start setting up frames for that, and the ones that the turbine is gonna be on are gonna form essentially the roof of this hall, which I'm thinking to make 3 blocks high with a roof of 1 level above that. For the 3 turbines that I have, I'm gonna need at least 5 blocks because they do need a block of space in between them, and each one of them is 1 block wide. So this roughly will be the area that I need to set up my turbines. Let's get that welded with that fancy arc welder we made last time. For now, this is not going to be an enclosed building. It's a long way from even being a building. So I'm going to just weld 1 time each. Making sure that I'm putting the power connection on the left side there. Just so I can run the wire on the same side for all the turbines. It looks like I forgot to weld 2 frames. Okay. Now we need regular cable, 5 for each turbine. And a screwdriver to finish the job. And I'm gonna wire these up with the super heavy cable that was added in one of the recent updates. And that can carry 500,000 watts. This way, as I add more turbines, even during a storm, I'm gonna have a lot of headroom to not burn out my cables. Plus, it's fun to play with the new stuff. Okay, let's rip up the old heavy cables connecting the small turbines. And make a new drop to the battery. However, I think I want to bring the upright turbines up here as well. So let's move those up. Yeah, there's just enough space to support these as well. And I should have enough of the super heavy cable for them. There we go, even have 10 cable left over. Now we have 3 large turbines and the 4 upright turbines feeding the battery. That should be a bit more supply, hopefully to keep up with the fridge and with the grow lamp and all the other things that we're adding. Now, I don't like these unsupported frames, so let's add a couple of pillars and pretend that the game has physics for the frames. Don't have yet enough to make a support there, but I'll use this one to fill in the floor. Just to make it clear, this is for my own aesthetic desires. The game does not care if you place your frames completely unsupported. They will happily float up in the air. I just think that looks quite wrong. And there we have it. The upgraded power generation setup is done. After the close call with the last storm where I almost got caught out mining, I want to add a weather station so I can be forewarned of the next storm that's coming. For that, I'm gonna need the weather station kit, along with 3 plastic sheets that are used to assemble it. And I may as well make a few extra plastic sheets because they'll be needed sooner or later. Now we can set it up. I think I want to place it right out here outside the airlock, visible from within the base, visible from outside the base, visible from the airlock. I think that's a good spot for it. Unfortunately, the weather station does not come with a single power and data port option, so we'll have to connect it on both sides. And I want to make sure that the light on it is placed this way so I can see it from both inside the base and from out the furnace area. And as I was saying, to assemble it we need 3 plastic sheets to weld onto it. Now we need to connect it. Oh, there I cannot pass the cable because of the door. So we're gonna need to move it one closer. And make sure the light is in the corner where I want it. And there we have it, a weather station ready to warn me when the next storm is coming. Now, it would be nice to get into the deep miner game and start automating some of the ore. But with the terrain update that happened last year, not every location has every ore like it used to be. First, we need to see what is right under us right here. And for that, there is a deep miner tablet cartridge that we can make. So let's make one of those and have a peek at what deep ores are found under us. Popping that into the tablet, it looks like we have silicon under the base. Perhaps not the most exciting material, but we are running low on it, and I do love building with lots of windows. So let's get into the deep miner game. But before we can make the deep miner, we need to upgrade the Autolathe with its mod. So I'm gonna grab some steel and get that started. Mods take a long time to build, so meanwhile I'm gonna work on some of the other things that we need for the setup. Namely, we are gonna need a centrifuge, which we don't need the upgrade for. Let's get that printed. And I'm gonna want a whole bunch of steel frames, steel sheets, cables, as well as some electronic parts which are needed to assemble the deep miner. The mod is done, so while I install that, we'll get some electronics parts made as well. And installing the mod does interrupt production, but we can start that right back up. I like about 16 frames, and we'll need 16 sheets to assemble those frames. Then we're gonna need 12 for the deep miner and 4 for the centrifuge. Also, I'm gonna need a whole bunch of cable. It's used both to assemble the deep miner, and we're gonna need to run a power connection. And of course, we can't skip the deep miner itself. There's the deep miner, and I almost forgot, but we are gonna need some chutes in order to link the miner to the centrifuge. First, I'm gonna snack on some baked potato, and then we are gonna go install all that outside. I want to place the mining downslope here, 3 blocks below the base. So I'm gonna need to clear some of this dirt. Yeah, let's place the miner. It does have its output port on this front left side, the way I'm looking at it. So over here is a good place, and then the centrifuge, which has its input on the left side, can go right about there. I'm gonna add a few more frames, so I have a comfortable area to stand on. Yeah, we need to add 12 steel sheets to the deep miner. And cable coils and the electronics parts. That's assembled. You know, for the centrifuge, I need to use a wrench with steel sheets, followed by the welder with steel sheets. 4 in total. And I should weld the platforms that I'm going to stand on. Yep, one more frame that I forgot to weld. Not that it matters. Okay, let's get some wiring set up. This wire from the greenhouse is in a very good position to run it down to the new miner setup. And over here, we're gonna just go through the frame. Now we have power for the miner. Let's get power for the centrifuge as well. Perfect. All that is connected. Good thing I brought that much cable. Now I'm gonna weld this frame back up with the last of the battery in the arc welder. I'm gonna need to recharge that. And let's get some chutes set up. Let's see, do I have enough battery to do one more weld? Yes, I did. Now, I would like to be able to walk in between these two. Actually, rather than using the single chutes here, how would the straight 5 be? Just a little bit too long. Let's do the straight 3. Oh wow, I had exactly the right amount of chutes for this setup. Excellent. Let's get this going. We'll let the deep miner start up. It does take a while until it's producing ore. And meanwhile, tackle another problem that has been growing in the base. The potatoes like a temperature between 20 and 30 degrees Celsius, but right now our atmosphere is at 35 Celsius. Every day the sun is adding some energy, heating up the atmosphere in the base, and because the walls and the frames are perfect insulators, it never gets any colder in here. So the simplest solution to that is I'm going to bring in a little bit of cold air and aim to get it somewhere around 22 or so Celsius in here. This is something we'll want to automate later on, but for the moment we'll just do it the manual way. There we have it, 23 Celsius. That is quite good. Let's also charge the batteries. That arc welder was very depleted after using it to assemble the deep miner and the frames. And since I'm taking care of personal needs, let's also make a new filter, because one of my CO2 filters is expended. The waste tank is also getting fairly full. So let's vacuum that out. Wow, perfect timing. It just decided to caution me about it. And since we're in here, may as well also replenish the oxygen tank. Or the air tank, better said, since we've got a mixture here. No, I guess air would also have nitrogen, which we do not have in the base. Okay, perfect. Just about 8 megapascals in the spare canister. And we have a fresh one in the suit. The potatoes have made some progress. This battery is full, so we'll put that in the arc welder and let the other one charge. Yeah, let's take a trip back down to the miner and see if we've got any ore coming out of it yet. Before I mess things up, let's make sure to set that vent to be emptying the airlock, not filling it. Okay, we do not have any ore yet, but we'll be getting there. That is a deep shaft. Meanwhile, we are getting low on a few other metals as well, so I'm gonna take a quick mining run, and we'll see if our auto miner has produced anything by the time I get back. After a whole day out mining, I have about 2 belts full of various ores, with a focus on copper because that's one of the ones that I am low on. My character is thirsty and needs a shower, so let's process the ice water first, and then get inside. How's the nitrogen pipe doing? 16 megapascals, it's still okay. Okay, now we have 91.8 liters of water in the system. Okay, let's start with a drink. And follow that up with a shower. They're sated, clean, and a fresh battery. Now, I'm gonna go outside and check on our deep miner. And there we have it. There's some dirty ore being processed in the centrifuge, and 22 grams of silicon so far. So we are producing silicon locally without hand mining. Now, I'm gonna toss the other ores that I brought back in the furnace. I did end up with a couple of stacks of silicon, so let's get that in first, since it likes the high temperatures. We'll make that all into one bar. Then I have a bunch of copper. In next episode, I am planning on getting into automation, so having a bunch of copper to make wires, chips, and other things is going to be very handy. So all that ore that I brought back, I processed with just the residual heat in the furnace, and the furnace is still at 679 Celsius. So yeah, insulating it does make life a lot easier. Now that we have materials, I'm going to tackle building a jetpack refilling station. And for that, I'm going to use the nitrogen that we get from the water ice, at least for now. So we need a pressure regulator. A pipe utility for gas. Unfortunately, the canister holder does not have an insulated form. Probably because you would need an insulated canister, not an insulated holder. And I need some insulated piping. Since my cables ran low, setting up the deep miner downstairs, I'm gonna make more cable coils. And the potatoes have grown again, but I am gonna wait for them to reach the seeding stage. I want to expand the platform yet again, so I have somewhere to stand while I'm refilling my nitrogen. I had one left over from earlier, so don't need too many. In fact, that was the last of the steel in the machine. Let's, we'll put 100. It'll get used. Okay, 5 frames. That goes with the 5 steel sheets that I already had. I love having this arc welder. Okay, now let's see what's the orientation of this pressure regulator. On this side, it would actually connect a little better in terms of cabling. Let's place that there, and Like the pipe. I don't want to risk blowing up the pipe by... Actually, would I blow it up? Let's see. I have 2 pipes with 19.6 megapascals, meaning if I take one of the pipes off, the other one will be just shy of 40 megapascals, so we are okay. I can fix this connection. Oh, no, I need to connect first up into that pipe and take that one apart. And I'll have to leave that until I use the gas. Okay. So canister filler. I can put that just above it. Now we need to power the pressure regulator. Yeah, I'm gonna take advantage of my labeler to set the pressure that I want. So I would like, say, 7,500. The limit on the tank, on the canister, is 10,000. So that gives us some headroom. Now I can restock my jetpack. While that fills up, let's grab a green spray paint can and actually paint these pipes in the green for nitrogen. And actually, since the volume of those 2 pipe segments was so low, despite having all that pressure in there, there was not enough nitrogen to fully fill that tank, canister to 7.5 megapascals. But we still have a decent fill. I have jetpack power for a good while. My stationeer is hungry, so let's see about the potatoes. And they have gone to seed. At least some of them. 2 of them have gone to seed. The other one is still growing. I'm gonna grab these seeds, add them to my backup stockpile, and harvest the potatoes. I do have 8 seeds as in reserve. So I'm gonna just harvest these other potatoes without waiting for the seeding stage. And replant. First I'm gonna eat the old baked potato, since even with the fridge things don't last forever, and make a new baked potato. Just to get completely full on baked potato. While I'm here with my helmet off, I'll pop my water as well. Now let's go actually pull out the first of our locally grown silicon from the centrifuge. The centrifuge is spinning at 100 RPM. In order to get anything out of it, we do have to stop it. And that happens when we pull this lever. It will slowly decelerate until it stops and can eject the contents. And there's the silicon. One nice thing about centrifuged ore is that it does not contain any gases, so it doesn't need to be off gas, and it does not cool and increase the pressure in the furnace quite so much. Now, close the ejection lever, and the centrifuge is going to spin back up. Taking things out of it does interrupt the process by wasting time spinning it down and spinning it back up, during which the dirty ore isn't really being processed very quickly. But it's necessary in order to get the ore out of it. And let's toss this in the furnace and get our first locally made bar of silicon. Excellent. One step towards automating the mining and not going off drilling by hand. This is it for today, and next time I'm hoping to get into doing some automation with IC10 chips. I want to automate the grow lamp, hopefully the emptying of the furnace, and we'll see what other ideas we can come up with in the meantime. Thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you next time. Aleki out.